JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, jctickets.net, Geico Insurance, Donaway Furniture, Ocean City Golf Club, RussellStreetReport.com, Comfort Inn Gold Coast, Holiday Inn Express, the original Green Turtle, hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
And welcome back. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap Show. We are broadcasting from the Ravens room here at the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, 127th Street in Ocean City. And once again, we've got to give a big shout out to our friends at Donaway Furniture, 130th Street at Coastal Highway in Ocean City. You can contact them at 410-250-5100 for this beautiful set. Give them a round of applause.
Yeah.
Man. This is awesome.
It's like the Ravens view.
Yeah, that's right. Well, in fact, I took a picture before the show and posted it on my Facebook page, and one of the friends of mine on Facebook is Sean Salisbury, former quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings. He actually liked the picture and said, that's an awesome set. So pretty good. We got a little national exposure as well. But joining us here for this segment, we've got local sports TV host himself of various golf shows, Bobby Vermillion, along with Tony Lombardi, and, of course, All-Pro Baltimore Colt, Bruce Laird. But welcome, sir.
Hey, it's great to be here, man. It's great to be back, and the new digs are awesome. I mean, Donaway Furniture, Kim Messick did a great job, and we're comfortable, and Bruce is looking good, man.
Hey, I tell you what, this is special. Papo, he's just going out of his way.
Do we know if these things go all the way back or not yet?
We're going to find out if you keep going.
Well, Tony told me before the show, he said, well, if we win this year for the Super Bowl, are these going to be rocket propelled, or are these going to be rocket seats? So,
rocking chairs.
We could do that as well. Well, hey, we, of course, talked about a little bit of the Super Bowl in our first segment, but Bobby, I know you and John are just switching up a little bit. Wanted to get your take on the Super Bowl and the postseason experience, because, boy, what a run. There were, and I'll admit it, there were some doubters going into the Denver game, and I'll admit I picked Denver in that one. But once we got over that hump, I felt supremely confident that we could go into New England because we have done it before. And how perfect was that to be able to make up for the year before and go in there and beat Tom Brady?
It was the ultimate scenario, and I was kind of hoping that John Garrick would be up with me on this segment because, as you guys know,
we can't. You
if you
guys
watched the show last year, I mean, he was the biggest Joe Flacco critic of all time, and I tried to stand by Joe all season long, and you know what? He's Super Bowl MVP, John. That's all I got to say. So, hail to Joe Flacco. But yeah, it was a great run, and we talked about it during the offseason. You could not have written a better script if you're a Ravens fan. From where it ended a year ago up in New England, Ray Lewis giving the speech in the locker room after they lost that game to the Patriots, and then coming back, and nobody thought that we could go through Denver and then through New England and win both of those games and make it to the Super Bowl. So just a storybook ending. And, this week the NFL Network has America's Game, and it's going to be a great little an hour-long program. If you watch the NFL Network, it's a great series. They chronicle all the Super Bowl winners. It comes out on Monday, September the 2nd, and it's an hour long. It's John Harbaugh, Ray Lewis, and John's man, Joe Flacco.
There you go.
Doing the narration. So
good stuff. Good stuff. Bruce, let me ask you about this, because I got in a little bit of a little bit of heated discussion with a Facebook friend from my fan Facebook page. We talked about the Super Bowl and the lights going out. Mm-hmm. The Ravens had a ton of momentum in that game. And look, I expected San Francisco in the second half to play better anyway. So I expected that they would raise their game to a certain extent. But to sit here and say that it was going to be that close even without that blackout, there's just no way that I can believe that game was going to be that close if the blackout hadn't taken place.
Well, not with the first half, not the way it went, because, they really stepped on their throat. Think about this, and this is what killed me when I watched the Super Bowl. They worked for 2.5 weeks setting up, and San Francisco couldn't even line up right for the first play, offensive play from scrimmage, which gained 20-some yards, set the momentum, and the flag was thrown because they were in illegal formation. And that's the kind of stuff that I just sat there like, oh my God. There's still so many morons still doing this kind of work. It just would, to be a coach would drive me crazy today. But then you saw everything happening, and then that changed. At the end of the day, because I know Jim and I know John and I know the players a little bit there, I thought it was going to be a 3-point game. But not at that point, Mike. So I guess to answer your question, no, I didn't think they could come back that well and make it the last play of the game kind of thing. But I thought it would be that type of game. I thought it'd be more of a track meet, which is what it turned out to be.
One of the things we didn't talk about, or you guys didn't talk about in the first segment, what did you think about the play in the end zone with Jimmy Smith in that final series?
I think in that type of game, Bobby, it's a no call. It really is. I mean, that's the game on the line. You do have the 5-yard chuck rule. It was a fade. That is what, at least that's what the receiver wanted to run, and Jimmy held his ground and stayed there. I mean, so you just don't throw the flag. And when you get into those situations, I've been in 6 or 7 playoff games throughout my career. Play 14 years and only do that many. That's how tough it is. So when you're in there, those referees let you play a little bit more as you move down the line. And you've got to be smart enough to know who that referee, who that back judge is, his name, his wife's name, how many kids he has. I mean, you've got to, you work them just like you work the cop that steps you out there and says, oh my God, I spilled my coffee, I didn't see the light. I mean, you got to do that, and I think it was a well officiated game. But my point there is you work them, and that was
I
a
think
good
it was a great
call.
no call as well. Of course,
Yeah, I think
it's easy to say when you're a Ravens fan, but
Exactly, but the thing that I think that helped the no call was how badly thrown the ball was.
I agree.
You know, it
Yeah.
was so far out of bounds. I think
Well,
if it's a closer pass, who knows?
Oh, absolutely.
And they talked
because
about the approach of the
they,
receiver, too.
they do that. I mean, you'll see them throw it, and they'll pick it up and go uncatchable ball. Okay, and he was still in the pocket. I remember when my playing days, as soon as that quarterback got outside that tackle, out of the pocket, the guy could be running anywhere. I'd go bang him. Because once he's out of the pocket, he's running, and all bets are off about banging him downfield. It's probably not that way anymore, but in my generation, it was a fun time. I love Lynn Swann. Every time he was out of ba-boom.
It's definitely not that way anymore.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Have you watched these preseason games?
It's brutal, I know.
It was a great run, and Super Bowl 47 in the books. The Ravens win. They get their second Lombardi trophy. As we kind of transition here to the offseason, guys, some of the guys that made some big plays in that game, including Donnell Ellerbe, who was the leading tackler. Also, Paul Kruger had a couple of sacks and 3 tackles in that game. Kerry Williams played solid. He almost had a pick for a touchdown. So those guys, Tony, are not with us anymore. We had a huge changeover. Of course, Matt Burke and Ray Lewis retired, but you're looking at 7 to 8 guys that are no longer with this team in the offseason. The Ravens had to make some very difficult moves, but at the end of the day, sometimes that's what it takes. And I know this organization got criticized when they went with Elvis Gerback from Trent Dilfer, but trying to be proactive and not resting on their laurels. Hey, they were aggressive in the offseason and doing what they had to do.
They really were, and I think a lot of these decisions were made before that Super Bowl run. I mean, they looked at that defense and they said, we're getting old, we're getting slow, we need to get faster and younger. And that decision was made well before that playoff run began. And I think when you look at what they've done, and look at some of the teams that have won the Super Bowl in the last, 7 years, there's not been a Super Bowl winner that has won a playoff game the following year, and the Ravens didn't want to be that kind of team. So you got to give credit to the system, and the system is really dictated by Ozzie Newsome. And we hear Steve Bisciotti down here talk about 80% of production for 20% of the price, best player, best price. They put all that into play. And when you look at what Paul Kruger made going to Cleveland, you look at what Donnell Ellerbe made going to Miami, you look at all those things, and you add it all up, and you look at Anquan Bolden. I know everybody misses Anquan Bolden, but you add up all that money and look at the guys they got. And if you don't make those kind of moves, you don't have yourself in position to scoop up on the facts screw up to get Elvis Dumervil.
Well, and the fact, Bobby, that we got Elvis Dumervil, Chris Canty, Marcus Spears, Michael Huff, their combined salaries equaled what Paul Kruger got in total from Cleveland. That just shows you the magic of Ozzie Newsome.
it really does. And if you look at Kruger, and I think losing him, I think we could accept that. Ellerbe as well. I think the one person we lost that Ravens fans kind of scratched their head a little bit had to be Anquan Bolden. He was such a big part of the Super Bowl run, and he's obviously an outstanding receiver. But we had conversations, Bruce, throughout the year, last year during the regular season, where he wasn't getting open. And you mentioned in the first segment, Flacco got the confidence. He started throwing him open. And Bolden's a great receiver. But let's face it, I think Bolden's best years are behind him. It was a move to get younger, to save that money, to try to get this team in a new direction. I think losing Bolden, I think, was something we had to do.
Whether you liked it, I didn't like it. I felt that once a guy gets to be 30 years old and he's there playing that way, that you can count on him to get through another year or two. But the secret to what you see here, why did we lose Kerry Williams? I think the reason is because you had drafted a Jimmy Smith. And you had drafted a #1 corner, and whether you liked Williams or not, I liked him. I thought he was getting into his own. He had to go, especially for the price. And I'll tell you one thing that I know for a fact, that Ozzie Newsome and everybody, when Paul Kruger, they got Cleveland for $40 million, they were hysterical. They must have thrown the biggest party.
The guy didn't even start.
He must have thrown the biggest party. He had whatever sacks he had. 2 of them were against a tackle out of Indianapolis Colts that shouldn't even be in the league. The other 2 came from here and there. And it's a beautiful thing for Paul Kruger. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about it. I love capitalism, and I'm glad he got it. But they were laughing all the way to the bank and said, "40, oh, be my guest. Enjoy yourself." Because he was a half-a-year wonder.
And again, that's why the Cleveland Browns are the Cleveland Browns each and every year, even though I think they'll be a little bit better this year. And that's why the Ravens are the Ravens, because they know value and they don't overpay for guys, and they know when to let them go. I mean, how many Ravens have we let go for the most part that have been wildly successful outside of Baltimore? Tony, it just hasn't happened. And bottom line, agree or disagree with Anquan Bolden, the salary cap hit was $7.5 million. That defense needed to get better. I don't think we're going to win again this year with that defense. And, they decided to go to the defensive side of the ball, but, they had a year left anyway. So it was a move, I think, that, had to be made.
Well, Jim Caldwell is all about ball distribution and spreading the field in order to find open areas in zone defense, or if teams are playing man, to distribute the ball into the hands of different people. So I think they thought that by having a few guys step up and make up for the slack by Anquan Bolden, they could take that $6 million and turn it into a much better defense, and they really have.
Well, it's just like Casino Live. You got those 4 guys that you've had in camp for, what, 2 or 3 years, and they have talent. You see that because you're out there, but they don't produce. They can't put their talent. And Bobby, this is a golfer. You can hit tee to green, but if you can't make the putt, if you can't make the big shot, whatever that is, you're going to have that. Now, they rolled the dice there. And we don't know, as of now, what's going to happen with the receiver corps. So that's still, I think, a big crapshoot.
Yeah, no question about it. And we did offer Kerry Williams a contract before the beginning of the season, but he decided to take the risk, and, he's an Eagle now, so be it. Hey, more to come. It is the Ravens Wrap Show on Comcast Beach TV and 93.5 The Beach. Keep it here. We'll be back.
What's this all about?
We're giving Rich the NFL experience of a goal line dive.
Really?
There's an easier way to get an ultimate NFL fan experience. Just snap the tag wherever Bud Light is sold and you could win. Bud Light in the NFL. Here we go.
Can I make it?
On the internet, yes. Into the end zone, no.
JC Tickets provides first-class trips to Ravens road games, including airfare, 4-star hotels, game tickets, and cocktail parties. We also help provide great seating locations to all Ravens home games. JC Tickets, where the games begin. Visit us at jctickets.net.